Welcome to this really short episode of We Are Carbon. I'm Helen Fisher, and there's no guest joining me today as I wanted to invite you to get involved instead. And in particular, I'd like to offer as a way to create something together. A new symbiotic approach to raising awareness about our power to regenerate. It's particularly well suited if you're working within a regenerative space and you want to express to your customers the value of the work that you do. Though it may also be of interest if you're simply eager to have an easy way of telling everyone you know why and how we can regenerate. I've laid out a simple web page that outlines the starting point of my idea. You could just jump straight there through the link in the description and pick up a sense of how this might evolve to become something you'd like to be a part of. I'll offer a little more background behind my thinking here if you'd like to stay and listen for a few more minutes. If you're a regular listener, then you'll know how firmly I believe in our ability to turn the tide on the detrimental impacts we're having on the planet by shifting our mindset and learning the value of collaborating with nature. For a long time, it has seemed to me that we have clear, obvious and powerful paths forward. They're diverse routes because it can't be prescriptive. But once we're guided by the principles and the functions within nature, we start to see opportunities everywhere for tipping that destruction on its head. There becomes a sense that we don't need perfection or to maximise in every possible way. Instead, if we implement the shift in perspective throughout many areas of our societies, then it could mount up to a really big and surprisingly fast impact. But I'm often reminded that I'm living in a bubble. It's a bubble filled with many incredible people, and a huge amount of passion, knowledge and ability. A beautiful bubble. And yet walking down this path of a regenerative life can too frequently feel like we're the exception, or even like we're pushing up against things. Let's be blunt. Abundance from nature. It rather tips the status quo, especially away from favouring the greedy. And it's also far from new. The wisdom of working with nature and the sadness and frustration of watching in minority as fast lives trample it in utter disregard. It's a story as old as civilizations. So what might be different now? Well, there's a greater ability to collaborate than ever before. And I think it's also important to recognise that a huge part of what we're pushing up against is just people's busy lives. Those seemingly small daily decisions made by vast numbers of people hold a huge impact. But through all of that busyness, we hand over so many of our choices to convenience. What I see across the globe are an array of incredible solutions for healing people and planet. But I also see a missing link, something that leads many regenerators to feelings of burnout. It's the challenge of engaging with the wider world. So I'm wondering if we could work together on this. One of my skills is illustrating and also creating 2D animations. I've always found animation to be a fantastic medium for grasping attention and explaining things well, quickly. But it's a pretty lengthy process to make them, and that tends to mean they're too pricey for the majority of small businesses to commission. It occurred to me that many regenerative businesses, direct-to-consumer farms for example, would be looking to inform their customers around similar messages, the value of biodiversity, the role of life within the soil perhaps. Themes I'm creating animations about for this work with We Are Carbon. In its very simplest form, I'm asking you to support me in creating an animated story of regeneration that would be brought publicly for free in digestible 2 to 3 minute chunks that are easy to share. But this could be incredibly symbiotic. By taking tiny snippets out of those animations, customizing them, adding your brand and a call to action, you could have low-cost, easy, convenient social media assets that could make your strategy really engaging and informative for your own sales. And it would all combine as a growing web with new content to raise further awareness about regeneration in general. I tend to find that the simplest approaches are often the most impactful, so I'm not inclined to overcomplicate this, though there's going to be a need for me to hear from you. It's not going to be for everybody, it doesn't need to be, But if it sounds like something that might suit you, then I'd like to develop it by taking into account your requirements, your reservations, and your ideas. I've laid out a basic introductory page which you can find a link to in the description. It notes a range of ideas for how this might work and should give you all the info you need to figure if you'd like to learn more. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll go and have a look through the link. I'll be back with another guest in the next episode, and if you'd like something to listen to in the meantime and haven't yet heard it, maybe look up the compilation episode from the end of Season 1. It's episode 16. It brings together many voices from the first season of this podcast to highlight the significance and healing power of regenerative agriculture. I'll pop a link to that also in the description. And let's keep figuring this all out together.